Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the best, I would say 12 or so brawlers in Siege right now. So of course Siege has been out for a while now, but still people are asking who are the best brawlers for Siege to push, because I feel like it's actually a really fun game mode. It's not too good with randoms, but hopefully with the help of this list, you should be able to push a lot better on Siege. So the first brawler is in no particular order, by the way, because I feel like it is very map dependent and comp dependent. But the first brawler is going to be Mandy. So Mandy is a brawler that is very strong because, of course, on certain maps, you're going to be able to shoot outside of the Ike and actually hit the Ike. So that is very strong. I feel like it's an ultimate cheese strategy. Of course, you can't just literally do that all game, but in some instances it can be very strong. This was particularly strong in maps like Bot Drop and also Factory Rush. When Siege first dropped, literally it was just Mandy. It was just everywhere. Mandy was dominating. Of course the super as well, you can basically shoot it across the map and hit the Ike and deal like 10% damage, which is just absolutely insane. So Mandy is a must pick in Siege. So next up, as one of the best brawlers in Siege, it has to be Barley. So Barley has been a staple to the Siege meta ever since its introduction. Pretty much Barley has been everywhere, so Barley is good for a few reasons. So of course Barley can do a lot of damage. Throws are just really strong as well. There's nuts and bolts and some assembly required, where there's just so many walls where Barley's able to pinch pretty well. You've also got his super to flush back the opponents. Being able to have that kind of super that can zone them away from the bolts is really strong. Not only that, his super can get a lot of damage. His super can also shoot from outside the area, which is one of the few brawlers that can do that, so you can get around like 10% damage with that. And not only that, you've also got the sticky syrup mixer, which you can use to counter tanks and also slow down the robots. So there's a lot going for Barley, really, and he's actually one of the best throwers, I'd say, for Siege. Into another really strong thrower in Siege right now, we have Dynamite. So just like Barley, he's only really strong in particular on two maps, nuts and bolts, and some assembly required. And the thing I love about Dynamite is his gadget. Satchel Charge is so good, especially when the opponent really needs to collect a bolt. I feel like you connect onto Satchel Charge way more in Siege than any other game mode. You've also, of course, got his super to deal some insane damage, and you can even use his Satchel Charge on defense now that you've got 4 gadget uses. But more often than not as well, Dynamite can just deal so much damage on pushes, and it's pretty hard to ignore him, in my opinion. I think he's one of the most toxic for sure on this game mode. Jumping into probably the best brawler in Siege right now, we have Carl. So Carl can use his flying hook to get the first bolt, and that is why he is so strong. I think only Mortis can get that first bolt first if he uses a gadget, so that's just incredibly strong. Of course, the first bolt is very important. Getting the first robot is very, very important in Siege, so of course Carl can really help with that. Not only that, he's a great counter to throwers. He's really good at just dashing around, collecting bolts, using his super to collect bolts, get kills, and also the fact that he can pierce through the Siege robot as well on defense and offense. It just makes him the ultimate brawler for Siege. Next up on the best brawler for Siege list, we have Lou. So of course Lou has struggled a little bit in the meta, mainly because he's only really strong in one game mode. But now that Siege has came back, he's strong in 2 game modes, Hot Zone and also Siege. So of course, if you didn't know already, Lou can get the perfect defense with just his super alone. A lot of the times people will just literally just throw a super next to kind of a lake or a wall, pretty much on every single Siege map, and the robot will just be stuck there for basically the entirety of the super, and then the robot just keep getting frozen and frozen. It's just so easy to solo defend with Lou, and that's why I think it's vital to have him in a lot of different compositions, because in Siege you always need one brawler that's decent at defense, and Lou always takes that box. And also you've just got a super that can be good at bolt collection because it can push the opponents away from an aerial. Lou is like the perfect brawler for Siege. Jumping into another really strong brawler in Siege, more so on the longer range maps, it is Bell. So Bell has ultimate cheese potential in the fact that you can shred the robot on defense so incredibly fast, but she's obviously much better on longer range maps like Factory Rush and Bot Drop, but she has huge defensive potential. And again, you always want at least one brawler that can defend and deal a lot of damage, so you always want to make sure that you're saving your super for the robot. Don't feel enticed to, say for example, there's a ball kind of roaming around but they're about to get their next robot. Don't just throw out your super. You got to be passive with it. Make sure it's landing on that robot and you can shred through it. And you also have the nest eggs as well to slow it. And I just always go Bell when it's Bot Drop and Factory Rush back when it was competitive 2 years ago, and I still got it now. It's just easy free trophies. Next up on the best brawlers for Siege list, we have Colt. So Colt has always been somewhat of an underrated brawler in Siege, but I think since Hypercharge, I think that has boosted him up even more. So Colt, he's definitely really strong. I'd say he's better on the more open maps, but still you could actually just use the Silver Bullet gadget and open up the map as well to counter throwers, which you've got 4 uses of that now, so that could be an underrated strategy as well. But the main reason why Colt is so good is because of the pure damage. Damage is very important in Siege, not only to get a really good push, but a good defense. So that's why Colt is really underrated. Of course, he's not really the best in bolt collection, so you probably need someone like Carl or BB or something like that to collect the bolts. But when you're dealing pure damage, you could literally probably finish the enemy Ike in one push, because you've also got Speed Loader as well if you want to go down that route, and of course Hypercharge with the extension of his damage. He's really underrated in the Siege meta. Next up on the best brawlers for Siege list, we have Pam. So Pam is a very underrated one. She's always one of the brawlers that I used to go to in competitive, and I still would go to now. She's still very strong. She's really good at defending. She's really good as well on those open maps with the turret, being able to stay alive and fight for the mid control, and that's why I just love Pam. You've also got Scrap Sucker to help push the enemies back whether there's any aggression. I just really like her. I really do, especially when you think of Factory Rush. There's a lot of places where you can put that turret in a really annoying spot, and she's just a perfect support brawler. You always need someone that can deal high DPS like a Pam. Moving on to the next brawler, which I think is very strong in Siege right now, we have Buzz. So Buzz still is super strong, and the main reason why Buzz used to be meta was because of Siege back when it was out, and he still is one of the best brawlers in Siege right now. So if you're unaware, his first gadget gives him the chance to use a super for free, and you can use that to collect the first bolt. And again, not only that, he's just really easy to charge his super in Siege, because of course you're actually fighting in a confined space, because of course both Ike Rangers pushes you into the middle, and you're able to charge super so easily, way easier than any other mode. So you can cycle supers, stun the opponents, and of course it's actually really good for trying to deal damage on offense, because you can focus on the defenders, get the stunning, get the kills, and finish off the Ike pretty easily. So I just love Buzz in Siege. But into another really strong brawler in the Siege meta right now, we have Spike. So I feel like Spike is an underrated one again. I know he's pretty squishy, so he might die quite quickly when defending, but the main reason why I love him is because of the fertilize and popping pincushion kind of synergy. So if you're unaware, that recently popping pincushion got a buff and so did fertilize, so it allows him just to sit on top of that Ike robot and just destroy it. Literally on offense, defense, when they've got a robot, you can quickly just delete it, and especially with the 4th gadget as well. But not only that, of course, he's hypercharged, so he's able to just deal more damage overall. Any hypercharged brawler is going to be better than some others in some moments, because of course they get that extra damage, and then that super has a bigger radius as well. So whether you want to just keep the opponents back from collecting bolts, that hypercharged super is going to be very strong in that department. Speaking of high damage brawlers, we have another good one in Brock. So Brock is more so used offensively to break open the map, and also just to deal a lot of damage. So again, there's certain maps in the game where, well, pretty much every map in the game, it always has a wall in front of the Ike. I think the one that always resonates with me is Factory Rush, where you can easily use a rocket fuel to break open that wall, the enemy's side. The main reason why that's super important is so the robot can actually get onto that Ike much quicker, but not only that, it gives a free passage for you and your teammates to shoot at that Ike more. And of course, with a brawler like Brock, who's able to deal a lot of damage, and especially with Incendiary, which is now baseline, and then you pair that with the more rockets super as well, it just creates so much insane damage. And Brock can also just deal, I think, around 20% if it just runs into the Ike range as well and deals all of that damage. So for me, he's a must-have in Siege. Of course, he's going to struggle a little bit in terms of bolt collection, but all you need is maybe like 1 or 2 robots and you can finish the Ike easily. So jumping into another really strong brawler in Siege, and you guys are probably going to hate me for this, it is Mortis. So Mortis, back when it was in competitive, there's a couple of people that really was an advocate for the Siege Mortis. It was super risky, you know, like Bobby, for example, Lana in competitive. They were able to make it work because, of course, they were insane players. But I think more so than ever, Mortis is actually one of the most meta Siege brawlers. mainly because of the fact that you can long dash a lot easier. You're able to dash around and collect bolts a lot easier. And the main thing with Mortis is that what you want to do, of course, you can't defend well. You've got to make sure you've got a good defensive brawler. So probably pair Mortis with like a Lou, for example. But you would be making sure that you're countering the squishy brawlers. So there's a lot of high DPS brawlers that are squishy, you know, like Brock, for example. There's a lot of throwers, so Mortis is going to destroy them. So your job is just to cause havoc, collect bolts, and try and destroy those squishy brawlers. And finally, moving on to one of the strongest brawlers in Siege right now, we have Grom. So Grom is broken on Siege for a few reasons. So just like how we can do it in Heist, it can deal so much damage with a click of the button. Using radio check, you're able to get so much damage, and you can actually shoot from outside the Ike radius. So if the opponents don't deal with you well enough, you can literally just shred the Ike. So for example, there's nuts and bolts out as I was recording, and I was able to pretty much do like 50% to the Ike without their opponents really even dealing with me. So I could pretty much just win the game from doing that. It's insane. Of course, these are throwers as well. Throwers are always really strong. The thing with Grom, you might struggle on defense, but as long as you're getting quick damage, getting the first few robots, you should be able to win easily. So let me know down in the comment section below who your favorite brawlers are in Siege. I think this is a pretty good list in my opinion.